Hi, this is Shubham, and in this video, we are going to learn about the offset function. Let me tell you that offset function is a volatile function, and volatile function means that when you apply the audit function in your management information system report or in MIS report or any other financial models or any kind of an analysis which you are doing in Microsoft Excel and you are using the offset function. This is a volatile function because it captures your memory every second. So when you are doing any other work within the Excel and your offset function is available in the workbook, it just keep on updating itself. You don't have any specific criteria to stop the offset function by utilizing your memory. So sometimes it slows down your model as well when you have large models of 100 MB files. But in a small data set, for example, you have 50,000 rows or 1 lakh rows. We are not talking about the big data issues within the Excel, but we are talking about the small database. Offset function is okay if you have minimum of 4 GB of RAM in your system, because all such systems, particularly offset, indirect, and rows, these kind of functions basically captures your memory RAM when you use the Excel throughout your process. So one kind of a limitation with the offset function is, but coming back to it is fundamentals, there is a formula breakdown or the function breakdown for the offset function is that offset function has 5 arguments and 2 are the options. Okay. And we need to understand that how we have to utilize them. So the first argument is the reference. Reference means the starting point. From there, we need to start. Rows means how many rows we need to move, how many columns we need to move, and what will be the height. As you know, that has a width and rows has a height. So the height is representing the rows. That what will be the height. And I will give you a practical example so you will understand it more clearly. But for understanding it a bit technical side, you have height and width as an optional argument. You can use it or you can skip it as well. But this function is especially used in specific kind of scenarios, not every time, because it is very volatile and it is very dynamic as well. It moves automatically if you have set it very correctly with the other function. Okay. So to make it more easy for you, you can see the comparison between the offset breakdown, and what it means is, so the reference means they start in the cell. Rows means either you can go up or down for a specific number of rows. Column, either you can go left side or right side, whatever you want. There is a freedom for this. And the height of the range and the width of the range. So the offset function first primary example, as you can see on your screen, and this screenshot I have used in some function and offset function. And technically, it is a screenshot from a website called ExcelJet. Okay. So these are the technical side of sides of Excel's offset function. So let me go through it quickly and then I will come back to the practical side of this function. The purpose is to create a reference offset from the starting point, that how this offset function will move. It will return a cell reference, and remember that offset function is practically used with other functions as well. It is a combination of different functions altogether. Now the uses of the offset function. So you might be thinking that where can we use this function and what is the main purpose of using that function, this function? The first uses is offset can be used to build a dynamic range for the charge or pivot tables. If you want to make a dynamic range for the charge or the pivot table and you need to update it always, you can use the offset function. Also, it only returns the reference. Cell will not be moved. Both the rows and columns can be supplied as negative number. If you want to move reverse, you can use negative numbers in this function as well, which we can't use in the index match. In the VLOOKUP, you move upward, downward, left, and right. Okay. So, as we discussed, offset is a volatile formula. It is recalculated whenever there is any change to a worksheet. So, it is technically slowed down the Excel complicated worksheet. If it is a very big size, of very big size, an offset will display the reference error value if the offset is outside the edge of the worksheet. So these are some of the situations where you can utilize offset. The first situation is, for example, if you want to get the sum or average of the last 7 transactions, offset is the best function. Return the last value in the column. Look up two values in a table, creating a dynamic range in the chart. And yes, you can use the offset function for moving averages. You can calculate through the offset function. These are some of the scenarios in which we can utilize the offset function, but this is not limited to this scope. There are other many examples which I have shared with you. You can download it from the attachments. So you can go through and you can hands on and you can learn long term. So now first let us come to the practical side. Very quickly, let me show you how the offset formula will work now as we want with the presentation. And, and we saw that there are 5 different arguments. The first one is the reference point. It means the starting point. Rows, how many rows you want to move. If you don't want to move, you will write 0. How many columns you want to move? 0. If you don't want to move, height and width. As you know that for the rows, we have the height, we can increase and decrease the height. And the further columns, we have the width. For example, if I am standing on A1 and I need to go to D3, so let me ask you a question for you. I am standing on A1 and I particularly go to the cell D3. How many rows and columns I need to move to reach D3? Go from A1 to D3, how many columns and rows I need to move? Okay, let's understand this, right? So my starting point is A1, as you know. So I need to go to D3, right? Let me highlight it again so that you can understand. I need to move 2 rows, not 3 rows, because I'm already standing on A1. Further, I need to move to the 2 rows downwards. Okay. So when I write here, I move 2 rows downwards, and from here, first column, second column, and third column. So I will write 3 here. So as you can see that starting from A1, we move downwards 2 rows and 3 columns to reach from A1 to D3. And what is the purpose of height and width? If we increase the number of height, for example 3, so height means vertical. So 3 rows are highlighted, and by increasing the size of the width, columns are highlighted. So 3 by 3 means we have highlighted, we increase the height and width of rows and columns from our starting point. So this is how you move dynamically. For example, 2. Or if I change the number here, for example 5, I am moving, now I am moving towards the rows and columns that I need. Okay. So now this is how you need to fill the criterias according to the requirement. But at this point of time, understand that I am hard coding that numbers. So sometimes you need to hard code the numbers, and sometimes if you need to make it at dynamic, you need to add the other functions with the combination of offset. And in the next 2 examples, I will be using some additional functions to make it more dynamic. So let us go to. I hope you have understood this animated kind of example. Now we will be moving towards the offset practical example. Yes, we have moved 2 rows and 3 columns. We will not count the starting point as a row. Remember that. We will not count the reference point at all. Alright? So let's get to the first example. Now, as you can see here, we have 4 different products. Month-wise sales, these are actual sales, and I have given the numbers as a temporary number so that we can understand it quickly. So I have used the 10 everywhere so that we can calculate it very quickly. Now here we need to calculate the YTD. Now for those of you who don't know what is YTD, so here YTD means year to date. For this particular example, it can be from Jan to December, but it is not fixed. That is, it is always start from Jan to December. It can be anyway. It's technically to start from the Jan, but for example, if we are in the month of July and we want to calculate the YTD, that it will be from Jan till July. For example, if we are doing that particular year or a quarter, so the activity will be the different. But for in this kind of scenario example, it is from Jan to December. You are very right. So now handling the YTD through the offset, how we gonna do that? We need to understand that. And this will be the example which will give you the clear idea that how you can use the offset. But as I mentioned, there are many examples. There is a very large scope of the offset. So that if you have any question, which is a kind of very advanced, you can ask me in the doubt section. Because these kind of functions are very necessary to learn for an Excel user. So let me get back to that. How we can calculate the YTD? See, the first primarily thing which comes in our mind is that we can use the sum as one for Jan to December, and to calculate the YTD, we can use the sum function which gives us the YTD balance. But now, for example, if a person needs YTD balance from June to March only, okay? So in this case, the YTD is coming from Jan to December, and we need to get the YTD balance only from Jan to March. That's it. That's our first point. Understand? Any idea what we can do? If we just need a sum of 3 functions as a weight YTD, for example, we are assuming that it is from Jan to March. So I need to change the function. Yeah, exactly. So what I need to do is I need to change it, and definitely I need to remove that function. And again, I will revise the sum function from Jan to March only. Now later on, for example, if the manager says that calculate the YTD balance from Jan to May. So again, I need to expand this manually. I need to increase the width. I need to increase the width of this Jan to May range manually within the sum function. And then my formula will be revised. So to get the particular YTD of our choice, we need to every time edit the formulas of some function, and we need to increase or decrease the height and width, especially the width as well. So to make it dynamic, we can utilize the combination of some offset function and the rows function, and it will be very much dynamic on just one go. So let us understand that how we can do. Before proceeding to this explanation, I need to know that do you know what months function returns? Have you ever used the month function? What does it do? Yes, the month value. Okay, the value of the month. For example, let me give you a demonstration of this. For example, if I have a date and I need to find out which month is this particular date, so I am just extracting the number of month. So equals to month and then cell reference, and it returns 4 because we know that in this slash format the month comes at the first left side. So this is the month of the April, and we got the 4 here for right. So we will be utilizing this month function within the offset to increase the width of YTD ranges. Dynamic. And how we will proceed? Let me first create a formula for that and then I will explain it to you. Meanwhile, you can see on my screen and understand that how it does, how it goes. So now let me explain this function to you and then basically the formula to you that, all right, so I have used the sum function. Why? Because we need a total first of all. Why we have utilized the sum function with the offset? Because we need more than one month sum altogether. So that's why we have used the sum function, right? Then the offset, because we know that our YTD demand will change and every month I don't need to make sure to revise the sum function. I need to make a range width which automatically will be dynamic and it can be controlled as we discussed by the offset function. So the reference point which I have picked is from B5. B5 is my starting cell as you can see on my screen, uh, which is the B5, and this B5 is the reference point. This means the starting point. And from this particular point, how many rows I need to move? Four. Definitely all four different products are on different rows. The first product is on row number 1, product B is on row number 2, product and 3 on row number 3. So to create a dynamic serial number, to change the row number, every time I have used the rows function, and 0 for the column because we don't need to move column. We just need to increase the width of the columns, and to increase the width of the column, we have used a month function. And now as you can see that in the month, we have used B2. B2 is a reference of, of a cell which contains a date. So now, for example, if I write 6 here, I am just changing this cell B2 which contains a date and I am writing a 6 here, and now you can see that this YTD is from Jan to June. If someone asks me to have the YTD from Jan to October, so if I know that October is the 10th month of the year, I just need to write a date and it change automatically. Now why? It is changing because every time the month function is increasing the width. And how it is increasing the width? Because it is taking a number from these dates. So to give you a conclusion about the offset is that offset does not comes every time as a standalone function. It can be nested with different kind of functions because you need an overall impact on your business solutions. That how it will be dynamically move with certain kinds of different functions. And in this example, that is why I picked this example to nest some offset rows in month altogether, so that you can have an idea that how can you use the YTD balances dynamically within the range. Okay, thank you.